that during the year 22-23, we did our maiden 10-year $1 billion sustainability bond. Of course, we opened the markets in January 2023 with this bond issue. And the idea is that these proceeds of these bond issue will be used to finance high impact projects in partner countries across select green and social categories in the bank's ESG framework. As you are aware, we also have set up our ESG framework, which has also been opined as credible framework. So we would like to work on that ESG framework and start building assets which get more compliant and helps us achieve that aspiration of being an ESG or a sustainability bank. So we have roughly mentioned on the slide in terms of which are the sectors we are looking at: renewable energy, clean transportation, access to essential services, housing, affordable housing, and sustainable water and waste water management. We've actually issued a second sustainability bond, which is of course a small amount of $100 million. And the bank continues to tap new geographies and new currencies. We like to collect marquee and the first time investors into our borrowing books, and we successfully continue to do so. Just some pictures to share with you. We did our listing ceremony for $1 billion bond. I think in the picture we have Mr. J.T. Srinivas, who is a regulator at GIFT City IFSC, and our parent ministry, that is the Department of Financial Services Secretary, Mr. Vivek Joshi from the Ministry of Finance. We also list our bonds on the London Stock Exchange. So last year we had an opportunity, so we also participated in fact we opened the London markets on that particular day. Now this is broadly on the bank. I have sections on the policy business and the commercial business of the bank. So I'll quickly go through it. Please feel free to interrupt me at any point of time. Now, lines of credit is what we call as an impactful development partnership. That's the whole purpose why this program is set up, to help partner companies develop infrastructure and socially relevant projects. As of March 31, 2023, we had 303 LOCs, which basically covered 68 countries, and credit commitments of over $30 billion. Now, typically this money will be used to support projects in partner countries. There has been, this also, if you look at it in a different way, it also helps Indian companies access new markets and opportunities, because most of these credit lines are given so that the partner countries buy goods and services from India. So there's definitely a correlation, a very high positive correlation in terms of how much exports from the countries happen, and that's how the Indian companies get access to new markets and opportunities, which is some sort of a non-recourse funding for them, because they don't really have to worry about their payments coming in under these projects. We have already supported 928 contracts valued at over 14 billion out of this $32 billion commitment. And in the year itself, we had roughly 37 contracts which were valued more than $1 billion. So in 1 year itself, we have actually approved contracts of over $1 billion. Roughly, if you look at the policy business, we've been having a compounded annual growth rate of 11% on this portfolio. And it also creates a positive multiplier effect for both partner countries as well as the Indian companies. During the year, we actually gave LOCs to seven LOCs were given, which was aggregating 670 million. And this was, of course, as I mentioned earlier, at the behest and on behalf of Government of India, to governments of Armenia, Cuba, Mauritius, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka. And again, these are for fostering their socio-economic development, and they are, of course, our partner countries. Just further breakdown in terms of our lines of credit program. Again, most of the beneficiaries of our program, as I mentioned, are partner countries. So needless to say, they we are neighbors also. So Asia, we have the highest share at around 54%, followed very strongly by Africa, 38%. And of course, we also have projects in Latin America, Caribbean, and the Oceania region. When we look at sectors, what type of sectors we have assisted, which also means that the Indian companies who are operating in this sector have actually got that export market during that period. Again, it's fairly diversified, connectivity, power, agriculture, water. Lots of focus on health and education. Of course, the amounts are small because the quantums are small, but lots of focus on health and health education and skills. Defense, yes, I think India is becoming a big defense player, and the aspirations are there how we can use that possibilities of exports on the defense side also. Now, when we talk about these contracts, we always think of large companies, because most of these projects which are being executed in foreign countries typically value at a $50-100 million plus. So most of the Indian companies who are executing these contracts would be in the medium to large segment. But we also need to understand the linkages they have with the MSMEs. So typically when you do any of these projects, there is a backward linkages which many of the MSMEs also get benefited. So there is a whole value chain and an ecosystem which is getting built up for MSMEs also through this program. Otherwise, mostly this program is seen as only supporting large project exporters, but there are backward linkages to give these benefits to the MSME segment also. Again, some of the things which happened during the year, other than the business in the lines of credit program, is of course, it's a scheme of Government of India, and we need to continue to refine the scheme so that there is more transparency in the scheme, as well as more and more companies are able to access the scheme. So there is a regular review of this scheme by the Government of India. So that happened during the year. Also, what has happened is over the years, since we are implementing this scheme, we have acquired, our officers have acquired the expertise of project monitoring, because most of these projects then are required to be monitored. So we are now helping Government of India for the other projects, which typically we may not finance, but we are helping Government of India in terms of managing those projects or implementing those projects and monitoring. So I would say a little bit of value add or services which is being provided by Exim Bank to Government of India. Again, in order to enhance our role and work on our expertise, we have separate infrastructure groups set up. So the teams can focus on building up these expertise and provide these services for our own programs as well as for other programs of the Government of India. Also, now the scale and the size of our program is actually very large. So we have actually moved digital on that. So we have a one-stop platform for monitoring of this scheme, which we call as Netra software, and which was actually inaugurated by the Honorable FM last year. Lots of pictures. I will just quickly run those through pictures, but gives you an idea of what types of projects we have assisted, under our lines of credit program. Light rail transit system in Mauritius, electrification project in Gambia. In the neighborhood, that's a Ruksha bridge, which was constructed under Khulna Mongla rail line project. My team will be happy to discuss any of these projects with you. This just gives you an idea of the scale and the sectors in which we are looking or we are supporting. Railways, yes, railways comes very large when we look at all the things, but even the smaller projects like this asbestos water pipes, which will provide safe and potable water in Gambia, or when you look at the light helicopters which we are supplying to Mauritius Police. Again, rehabilitation of water treatment plants being done in Tanzania, smaller water projects in Tanzania, then supply of equipments to various countries. This, needless to say, forges a stronger relationship or ties with our partner countries. So this is a very important project. It's a supercritical thermal power plant which is being funded by Exim Bank. I think nearing closing, right? I think during this year we will be commencing commercial operations on this project. So just sharing some of the details of that project with you. Now, this sort of competes with our lines of credit program. Moving to our commercial business. Again, as I was mentioning earlier, the commercial programs of the bank are aimed at building export capacity and boosting export competitiveness. We have sanctioned proposals worth over 70,000 crore during the year. We also, I was mentioning, do non-funded business where we support Indian companies in their overseas contracts. So there we have actually supported 75 projects for export contracts which was valued at over 40,000 crore. And these projects are happening in various countries. So we have mentioned 37 countries across Asia Pacific, CIS and Latin America during the year. Overseas investment finance, we would love it to grow more, but till date we have financed more than 600 overseas ventures set up by over almost 500 companies in 78 countries. This basically gives Indian company, this is again one of our mandates where we are supporting Indian companies have substantial overseas operations. Some of the pictures just sharing to get an idea what type of projects we have supported or what type of loans have we given under our commercial business. Again, high-tech, pharma continues to be our focus. There is, of course, last if you see that's export facilitation we call it, where we have supported the Goa airport. Why Exim does it? Exim typically doesn't do infrastructure projects in India. Exim only does those infrastructure projects in India which can be termed as an export facilitation program. So typically you get airports and ports. If we feel and we look, we find it of adding or contributing to the India's exports, we would engage in that type of financing. R&D center, I earlier mentioned, pharma continues to be one of the sectors which we are focusing. So again, some electrification of Konkan railways and again connectivity with the port and so on. Textile company. So under our expansion of capacities, we have pharma, textiles and other sectors. Overseas investment, again, mostly we are seeing high-tech pharma where we are helping. And on the renewable side also, we are supporting projects. Now this is another scheme we have which is called the Bias Capital under the National Export Insurance Account. Very akin to lines of credit program, but there the security mechanism is different where we take cover from the National Export Insurance Account. If you look at the sector breakup, I think it sort of reflects what we are doing under lines of credit. Power transmission, railways, roads, water supply, transportation, construction. These are the sectors in which we have supported Indian exports to various markets. And in terms of markets, on the left hand side, West Africa constitutes a very large share, of course followed by, like in SAARC we have basically Sri Lanka and other countries. We also have exposure in Latin America, very small amount, but Africa continent and Asia continues to be the recipients and the rest of the world. As of date, we have 36 projects across 17 countries with a rough outstanding of around $1 billion. Some of the pictures of our projects which we have supported under the National Export Insurance Account. Again, Maldives, this was decongestion of the city, so a road project, transmission line projects, I think the middle picture in Cameroon, and the solar powered pipe drinking water project in Uganda. This was recently inaugurated by the EU. So this completes my commercial program brief. Now coming to the third element where we are talking about how we are empowering MSMEs to different types of support.